Hello everyone, welcome to Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services. It's a video on daily news and editorial analysis, which I'll be covering from the Hindu and Indian Express. So the most important news and editorial of the day that is relevant for the preparation of civil services examination will be discussed in this session. Let's get started with the news topic list. Today is 7th of January. The first important news that is India to host Voice of Global South Summit, which is a brainchild of the Prime Minister of India. Second, committee to build a framework to ensure the road safety. This is what the Supreme Court directive is there. Third, census to be delayed again till 2024-25. This is what the Registrar General of India or RGI has noted. Fourth, that is UK ship enters Indian Ocean as a part of Indo-Pacific deployment. And the last is an editorial opening the campus door. Apart from the news and editorial discussion, at the end of this video there will be MCQ based questions, and these questions will be based on current affairs that will help you for the upcoming prelims examination. So without any further delay, let's get started. And before I begin this session, those of you who are new to our channel, do not forget to subscribe Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services on YouTube. If you like this video, if you find this video informative and helpful, do press a like button. Starting the session with the first news, that is India to host the Voice of Global South Summit, something important for General Studies Paper 2 under the subtopic that is bilateral regional grouping and agreement involving India and affecting India's interest. So India is expected to host the Voice of Global Summit. This is scheduled from January 12 and 13 in 2023. And as many as 120 countries will participate in the summit for the next week. So the participants are, again, a good number of participants are there, and definitely this will get a global recognition. Now 10 of the 20 countries will be the part of this session, and the two sessions will be hosted by the Prime Minister himself. This initiative is inspired by the Prime Minister of India's vision of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, and Sabka Viswas and Sabka Prayas. So these tagline might be important for the mains examination. For writing in mains, आप इस तरह के points को highlight कर पाएंगे. It is also an underpinned by India's philosophy of Vasudev Kundakam, जो कि G20 की अगर मीटिंग की बात करें, G20 में भी इसी थीम के थ्रू ही इंडिया ने एडवोकेट किया. The theme for the summit will be unity of voice and unity for purpose. So this is actually important for many other government examination and specifically for the prelims examination. Now, what is the aim of this summit? So the Voice of the Global South Summit essentially envisages to bring together the countries of Global South and sharing their perspective and priorities in common platform across the wide range of issues, right? तो Global South के जो countries हैं, specifically उन पे focus की जाएगी कि किस तरह से coordination बनाई जाए. There should be a priority with regards to the common platform and a whole range of issues concerning the member countries. There is a ministerial session that will be the part of this meeting. So there will be 8 ministerial sessions of the following theme. The first is the finance minister sessions on financing people-centric development. This is the one theme. The second theme is the environment ministry session on balancing the growth and environment-friendly lifestyle. This is known as LIFE, which was envisaged by the Prime Minister himself. The other is the foreign minister sessions on priorities for the Global South, ensuring a conducive environment, right? So this is how the other themes are working. There are 8 themes. After that, the themes is on energy ministries, which is like energy security and development roadmap for the priorities. The other is the health ministry conference, a session that will call for corporations to build the resilience healthcare system. Education ministry sessions on HRD, that is the human resource development and capacity building. Commerce and trade ministry sessions on developing synergy for the Global South, which include trade, technology, tourism and resources. And last but not the least is the foreign minister sessions that on the G20 suggested the suggestions for India presidency will be the part of this. So this is how the ministerial session will be there in terms of the all process and the theme that is ongoing to be there. Now about the global north and global south, ये दो difference आपके लिए जानना काफी जरूरी है. First, what is global south? So global south refers to the countries like United States, Canada, Europe, Russia, Australia and New Zealand. While global south की अगर बात करें, this include country like basically country like Asia, Africa and South America. तो इसके अंदर जितने countries हैं will be the part of the global south. The classification is more accurate as a country shares similarities in the wealth indicators of education, healthcare, etc. And some of the South countries like India, China have emerged economically in the last decade. So this is how the actual difference is between this global north and global south is. If you're being asked a question about the global south, its recognition and the forum that has been established, you can definitely use this as example purposes. Now, moving to the other news, Supreme Court directs committee to build a framework to ensure road safety, something important for General Studies Paper 2, under the subtopic that is the welfare schemes for the vulnerable section of the population by the center and the state government. So recently, Supreme Court ने direct किया है committee को, which is headed by the former Supreme Court judge. His name is A.M. Sapri, to convince a meeting within 2 weeks to evolve a framework and formulate the state-specific guideline in electronic monitoring and enforcement of the road safety norms in the country. So this was taken, the decision or directive was given by the CJI, that is the Chief Justice of India, Mr. D.Y. Chandrachud, and he has basically called for an urgent step that need to be intervened to enforce the section 136A of electronic monitoring and enforcement of the road safety of the Motor Vehicle Act 1988. So this is again very important. कई ऐसी डेथ्स रिपोर्ट होती हैं इंडिया में, काफ़ी सेलिब्रिटी लेवल पे भी डेथ्स रिपोर्ट की गई रोड एक्सीडेंट्स में, राइट. सो टाटा सन, फॉर्मर टाटा सन्स चीफ वर आल्सो देयर. सो ये कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट केसेस हैं. इवन in light of the total cases that is reported is on the higher side. The provisions under the Motor Vehicle Act, अगर Motor Vehicle Act की अगर बात करें, what are the things and what are the provisions that is the part of it that is going to be relevant for the examination purposes although. So Motor Vehicle Act was amended in 2019 and incorporate provisions of section 136A जहाँ पे electronic monitoring और reinforcement की बात की गई है with regards to the road safety, which is include the national highways, state highway, roads and urban cities. Now the issues is now ensuring the enforcement of the provisions of 136A. So this provision will be invoked to ensure that the government is taking an accurate measures. So this will also come up with the specific guideline from the state government, which will have to be done in collaboration with the state government, right? तो state के लिए guideline दी जाएगी ताकि उसे वो follow करे और उसी norms पे अपने rules को बनाए. Now according to section 136 subsections 2, the central government shall make a rule for electronic monitoring and enforcement of the road safety that include the speed camera, closed circuit television camera, जिसे CCTV भी कहते हैं. Speed guns will be there, body wearable cameras and other technology that will be the part of it, right? So this is how things will work, and the government of India is although putting its best endeavor to ensure that they are working on the right direction. After the Supreme Court intervention, they will definitely look into this. The section 215B of the Motor Vehicle Act provide for the constitution of National Road Safety Board as an advisory body with a capacity which will be having capacity of advisory nature. तो वो advise करेगी, recommend करेगी, and the final call has to be there by the central government. So this is again an important point to be noted. Now, data on road accidents की अगर बात करें, according to the Ministry of Road and Transport and Highway, report has been published by 2021 that altogether 4,12,432 road accidents were reported in the year, and in which 1,53,972 people lost their life and 3,84,448 were injured. So you can see the number is pretty on the higher side. Now some information with regards to infographic. Over 200 overloading of the passenger has been seen, right? This is like for penalty that is incorporated. 1,000 rupees for the penalty with no seat belt and 1,000 rupees for not having the child constraint, right? So there are penal provision that is there. And if you talk about the part of the new bill, that also include that how the road safety should be taken cautiously both by the citizen as well as by the state government. Now, the power of the state under the Motor Vehicle Act of 2019, the state can fix and notify exact fine and penalties where the act says not more than or not less than, but can fix a minimum and maximum amount. Fines are under several heads that will also be increased. The states have a right to fix and notify the amount of fine. The state can fix the fine for compounding offenses, and the state cannot fix fine for non-communicable offences where the central government has specified the fine of the amount. Now, the other news, census to be delayed again till 2024-2025. This is what the RGI, Registrar General of India, has said, something important for General Studies Paper 2. Under the subtopic, Government Policies and Intervention for the Development of Various Sectors and Issues Arising from it, Design and Implementations. The census enumeration schedule to take part in 2021 has further pushed, it will be delayed till 2024-25 till further order. This is what the Registrar General of India has said in its report. And in a letter to all the state and union territories last month, the Registrar General of India has said that it will further extend the deadline for administrative boundaries till June 2023, right? And after which there is the election, the Lok Sabha की elections है, Parliament की election है, उस वजह से इसे further और delay की जाएगी because the entire process take time and it cannot be completed. इसी वजह से इसे भी start करने की कोशिश नहीं है. Since the census enumerations begins only a month after the administrative boundaries are frozen and general election are scheduled in the next year, the general election is scheduled for 2024. The reason being the government has decided that they will not come up with any sort of census. In March last year, the government has notified certain amendments to the census rule allow the citizen to self-enumerate themselves to the census and national जो population register है जिसे NPR भी कहते हैं उसमें self registration भी की जा सकती है. Now, extending this extension has been a lot many times. This is not for the first time. Since the announcement for the census exercise deferment was due to pandemic, पहले जो Registrar General of India है उनके ऑफिस से ये बातें आई that because of the COVID-19, the government is not doing the exercise, and following the latest extension, the census get deferred at the end of this September. और जनरल असेंबली इलेक्शन से 2024 के लिए ड्यू है, इस वजह से भी इसको ध्यान में रखते हुए सेंसस प्रोसेस नहीं होगी बिकॉज इट्स अ लेंथी प्रोसेस, राइट. इट कैन नॉट बी कंप्लीटेड विद इन फ्यू मंथ्स, सो टेक एन ईयर. और इसी चलते इस प्रोसेस को डिले की गई है ताकि पूरी इलेक्शंस कंप्लीट होने के बाद द गवर्नमेंट बेसिकली द रजिस्ट्रार जनरल ऑफ इंडिया विल स्टार्ट द सेंसस प्रोसेस. Now, before every census, the state are required to provide informations to the Registrar General of India about the number of district that has been notified, village, town, and other administrative units, जिस तरह से तहसील, तालुकास, पुलिस स्टेशन होते हैं, ताकि वो सेंसस में एक स्टेट के रिपोजिटरी की तरह काम करे, डेटा की तरह काम करे. The boundaries of the administrative unit are frozen 3 months before the commencement of the census, and even in the period, the data is compiled and shared with the Registrar General of India to begin the preparatory work for the census. Now, what is the impact of the delay? जिस तरह से delay की जा रही है उसकी क्या impact होगी basically to the largest section of the society? First, there will be administrative bottlenecks with regards to the devolution of fund, right? So the delay in the conclusion of the census, basically अगर transfer of fund की बात करें जो central government देती है state government को, so there will be delay because the recommendations of the 15th Finance Commission is based on 2021 census, right? तो जो correct census होंगी उसमें काफ़ी ज़्यादा changes की जाएंगी and it will have its own benefits and repercussions for many states as well. Now, the second is with regards to the National Social Assistance Program. The delay in the census will impact the National Social Assistance Program, जहाँ पे almost अगर बात करें pensions की 3.09 करोड़ विडोज हैं, डिसेबली पीपल हैं, एंड इवन पीपल विद द बिलो पॉवर्टी लाइन, तो उनके कैलकुलेशन में भी फर्क पड़ेगी एंड इवन द अमाउंट दैट वाज सपोज्ड टू बी इंक्रीज्ड विल आल्सो बी स्टैग्नेंट. द सेंटर हैज अनाउंस्ड दैट इट्स इंटेंट टू शिफ्ट द सोशियो इकोनॉमिक सेंसस दैट वाज बेसिकली गवर्नमेंट ने रिसेंटली डिसाइड किया कि इस चीज को जो गवर्नमेंट की कैलकुलेशन है वो सोशियो और इकोनॉमिक कास्ट सेंसस पे की जाएगी विच स्टिल इज ऑफ द ओल्ड वन. सो एवरी स्टेक होल्डर इज लुकिंग फॉरवर्ड विद द न्यू डेटा so that the part of the people that has to be included will be there in the larger number, and even the beneficiaries that still not getting benefit will be the part of under the SCAC program, right? तो ये सारे लोग अभी भी excluded हैं, उनकी inclusion काफी ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है. That is only possible when the current census is concluded. Now, it will also impact the National Food Security Act. It will have an impact to the beneficiaries of the National Food Security Act. बात करें और almost 75% of rural population and 50% of the rural population is adding up to total of 67% of the total population, right? And subsidies of the food that is given in terms of the public distribution system that might also increase. तो coverage wise अभी काफी कम लोग हैं जिनकी coverage हुई है. So it has to be increase on a number of the side, and on the part of the development that is taken by the Registrar General of India, they will commence it only after 2025. So these people have to wait until and unless the complete census is completed. UK ship enters Indian Ocean as a part of Indo-Pacific deployment, something important for General Studies Paper 2 under the subtopic, that is the bilateral regional grouping and agreement involving India and affecting India's interest. So recently, the UK Royal Navy offshore patrol vessel, which is also known as HMS Tabar, is sailed in the Andaman Nicobar Island as a part of permanent deployment in the Indo-Pacific region, right? और ये काफी significant step है in terms of a bilateral relationship between India and Britain. So according to the British High Commissions, over the next 5 days, the ship and the crew will undertake the capabilities demonstration of the maritime exercise with Indian Navy. So this is a ship from the UK that was deployed, and it's a state-of-art ship that have a lot more capabilities. Now UK integrated review की अगर बात करें, HMS Tamar is one of the 2 royal vessels on the permanent deployment of the Indo-Pacific, is said to be the UK integral review, and the ship visit of India is an opportunity to further strengthen the shared vision of the dominance and awareness effort, underlining the UK's and India's intent to collaborate in the Indo-Pacific region and even in the Indo-Ocean region. The work of the HMS Tamar and the crew will be done with the partners across the borders and also specifically for the Indo-Pacific region, where India find China's dominance on the higher side. Now, as to the global peace and stability, the Royal Navy Blues deploy the relationship with Indian Navy in the shared endeavors to confront the changes that is rule-based and ensure peace and prosperity on the region. So this will call for balancing the power in the Indo-Pacific and ensuring Pacific is intended with drive full growth and prosperity across the world. Now, moving ahead with the basically editorial of the day, that is opening the campus door, something important for General Studies Paper 2, that is issues related to development and management of education and human resources. So what is important in this editorial? Talking about the theme of this editorial, the theme is about the operation of the foreign campuses for the foreign higher education institution in India. Some of the important issues include operation of the campus, appointment of the faculty staff, adherence to the national interest of India, waiving of equivalent requirement, and the conclusion part. So I have already discussed this news when it was reported. Now we'll see some important and significant part from mains perspective. Now, the latest draft regulation by UGC that call for setting up of the foreign campuses, foreign university campus or institution in India has paved the way for foreign university to grow over the higher education in our country. Now, internationalization की अगर बात करें of the higher education is a salient feature for the National Education Policy 2020 which government has envisaged. तो काफ़ी ज़्यादा innovative changes लाए गए हैं with the National Education Policy. The National Education Policy only where it says that the top 100 ranking university could establish their branches campus in India and provide quality and higher education to Indian students who aspire to gain foreign degrees. Still, a lot more students travel abroad to China, UK, United States, Ukraine to get their higher studies done. Now it will be possible that they don't need to travel abroad. In India only they will be able to get some of the method degrees. The draft UGC regulations have top 50 university and will be ranked decided as per the UGC from time to time. Now, operation of campuses की अगर बात करें, the draft regulation allow the foreign higher educational institutions to decide the fee And this will be transparent and reasonable because the foreign countries charge as per their currency. तो अगर यूएस की यूनिवर्सिटी वो डॉलर पे करेगी, ऐसे मैक्सिमम यूनिवर्सिटी जो यूनिवर्सल करेंसी है डॉलर उन पे चार्ज करेगी. So it will be pretty on a higher side. That has to be basically balanced. This gave the foreign branches campus in India an upper hand in deciding the fee for the different program. As a result, कुछ हाई मार्केट वैल्यू के जो प्रोग्राम्स हैं उनकी अफोर्डेबिलिटी हर लोगों के लिए पॉसिबल नहीं होगी इंडिया में. Although there's a provision that the full or partial need for the scholarship will also be deciding, and it will be a challenging task for the university administration as well. The appointment of faculty and staff is a prerogative of the foreign university. The foreign higher education institution now have the freedom to decide upon the qualifications, salary structure, and other conditions for the services appointed the faculty and staff. The public higher education institution in India will follow the standard and regulation, that is with regards to the qualification and recruitment, salary structure and service condition. These will be decided by the foreign institution and not by the UGC, right? तो ये भी बहुत सारी चीजें हैं जो इंडिया में UGC देखती हैं स्टेट गवर्नमेंट के अंदर भी. So now this part will have to be decided by the foreign universities. However, a few private universities in India adhere to this rule, and the opaque salary structure of the private higher education institution remain a cause of concern. Now, adherence to national interest of India, this is what the UGC has noted in its draft notification. It says that any foreign higher education institution worldwide will have the faculty who are the expert in the field of the curriculum, and they have to basically take two things into consideration and two things into the mind before they are going with the curriculum. First, that the foreign higher education institutions shall not offer any such program to study which jeopardize the India's interest. जो नेशनल सिक्योरिटी की बात है, जो नेशनल इंटरेस्ट है, उसको भी किसी तरह से हार्म ना पहुंचे, जो स्टैंडर्ड ऑफ इंडियन एजुकेशन है वो पूरी तरह से मीट हो. एंड सेकंड, द ऑपरेशन ऑफ हायर एजुकेशन इंस्टीट्यूशन शैल नॉट बी contradictory to the sovereignty and integrity of India, securing the state-friendly relations in the foreign states, public order, decency, and morality. So these things will be taken into consideration before a university come up with the curriculum, and it has to be on the adherence of the national interest. Now, waiving off of the equivalent requirement. So all students with the foreign degrees are required to get equivalent certificate from the Association of Indian University. अगर आपने कहीं डिग्री की है, मान लो आपने ऑक्सफोर्ड से पढ़ा है, then you will be getting a equivalent degree in for Indian University as well. The draft regulation pave off the equivalence requirement for the degrees granted by the foreign university campus in India, which is a positive measure. तो पहले ऐसे डिग्रीज लेना मैंडेटरी होती थी. Now this equivalent or of equivalence requirement has been waived off. However, it would be difficult to ensure that the degree offered by the foreign university would be accepted by the employers in India. Basically, जो home countries में campus लेते हैं, बहुत सारे ऐसे companies हैं which को ask for the equivalent degree. Now, after the norms, they will also adhere with the waiving off of equivalence requirement of the degree. Now, concluding this part of the editorial, I think most of you must be aware of the basics of the draft regulation which was brought in by the UGC. So India is a young nation with an increasing need for the higher education and ever increasing demand for the foreign degrees. A major bone of contention is between the foreign branches, campuses, and Indian government has been issued for the repatriations of the profit. Now, education की अगर बात करें, ये is not considered as a profitable enterprises. It's basically for the public good and generate income. तो ये जो इनकम जनरेट होगी इसे बाद में भी प्लॉट बैक करने की जरूरत है सोसाइटी को, ताकि मासेस के लिए इसकी बेनिफिट मिले. ऐसा ना हो कि एक प्रॉफिटेबल बिजनेस ही बन के रह जाए. However, the draft regulations 2023 allow the smooth repatriations of the profit which brought in the foreign campuses under the regulation of FEMA. तो ये सारी चीजें FEMA के गाइडलाइंस के अंदर ही काम करेंगी. Now, the intent of the government of India with respect to the international universities setting up the campuses in India is a clear provision under the new education policy 2020, right? So this is a vision that was there by the central government, and all other reform that is coming in the education system and country is the part of the new education policy 2020. Moving to the MCQ questions of the day. Before I proceed, just to tell you the answers of yesterday's questions. For first question, the correct option was A, and for the second question also the correct option is A. Today's MCQ for practice, Maritime India Summit 21. Its focus for upgradations for the infrastructure and aims to strengthen the vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat. Denmark is a partner country for 3-day summit. So sometimes basically the question which is a year and old is also relevant for the prelims examination. Second is the Swachh Sarthi Fellowship. The Government of India, under the Waste to Wealth mission, has launched the Swachh Sarthi Fellowship. The Waste to Mission is the 9th national mission of the Prime Minister Technology and Advisory Council. So you have to check for the correct option, practice a lot more questions. You can also buy our test series that will give you an extra edge for the upcoming prelims examination. This was all about for the daily news and editorial analysis, followed by the MCQ questions. If you have any other concern, you can let me know. I'll be more than happy to assist you. For time being, I'm signing off. Thank you so much for watching this video.